Hello and welcome back to another episode of the FPL Stats Show, where we take a look at absolutely everything that you need to know for the upcoming game week. This week we're looking at game week 12, and as always we're going to have your DEFCON stats, your attacking stats, your best fixtures, attacking and defensive wise, as well as a ton of other stuff which you are going to absolutely benefit from if you watch until the end of the video. As always, I've got my mini league on screen which you can still join. I'm currently sitting 78k in the world, which puts me in 25th in my own mini league, which is fantastic considering we've got well over 1,500 people. So if you're doing quite well, make sure to jump in, and without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So we'll start off by looking at our fixtures for this week as always, and it's looking like a not too bad week. A lot of difficult kind of fixtures in there, mainly because of the fact that there's a few of our decent teams are playing away from home, but there's also a couple of standout fixtures as well. Chelsea with the early kick-off against Burnley is going to be one of those. Of course, Burnley haven't been performing too well this season, and Chelsea have a lot of decent FPL assets that a lot of us will own and look to potentially own. And this is of course in the middle of a decent Chelsea fixture run, which they could do quite well in. Bournemouth I would expect to do quite well against West Ham, the same as Crystal Palace up against Wolves. Again, however, it is an away fixture, which could potentially make an impact. I think our big standout fixture in terms of FPL is going to be that Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest fixture. Game week 12 is now upon us, which means Liverpool are coming into a very, very nice run of fixtures, which we will look at when we look at our fixture runs later on in the video. But definitely if you're looking at a Liverpool attacker or just a Liverpool player in general, this is the week to get them in. Newcastle are playing against City as well, which is definitely looking like a difficult game for both teams, whether you captain Erling Haaland or not. It is looking like another week where it could be a bit of an opportunity to go for a differential captain. Other than Saturday, we've got 3 games left, 2 on Sunday and 1 on Monday. I can't imagine, other than Arsenal, people have too many players out with Arsenal on Sunday. Leeds and Aston Villa is a bit of a nothing game, and then of course we would be hoping for an Arsenal clean sheet against Spurs, but that is one that could potentially be a little bit at risk. And then Monday we've got Man United versus Everton. It would be really nice if you had a good week over the weekend and we're holding out on someone like Brian Mbeumo or Bruno Fernandes to do well on Monday night with a really nice fixture against Everton. So we'll start off with our DEFCONs, and Marcus Senesi this week has reclaimed the top spot over Daniel Ballard. Ballard does look like a really, really nice option. He obviously done really well, I think it was 2 weeks ago, with a big haul. Nice for DEFCONs per 90, obviously missed a few games, so he has only picked it up in 4 matches so far, but his DEFCONs per 90 are still looking really, really nice. The same with quite a lot of the Sunderland players. You can see Omar Alderete in at 10th is just below the threshold of 10 per 90, and then you've got Mukiele as well, who's now down to 13th. He has dropped quite a bit after having a very good start, and he was pretty much locking down that second place behind Senesi for a good few weeks. He's now got an average of 9.56 and has only picked up in 5 games now. I think he picked it up in his first 5 games playing in the Premier League, or first 4 games, and then he kind of dropped off after that. So yeah, he's down at 13th place now. Agbadou sitting at a nice 10.75, but again, he's another player where his minutes just aren't too great whatsoever. I think he played again in game week 11 with I think it was Krejci moving into midfield. Again, not really going to be your best of options, which kind of rules him out, especially with how bad Wolves are doing. But Van Dijk's still doing well, Anderson's still doing well, Richards, Lacroix still doing really well. You can see their points, they've picked up in 5, 7 and 6 games for the 2 Palace players, all with a really nice average, and all pretty popular players in the game. James Tarkowski as well is down in 8th place with a 10.36 average, but he has picked it up in 7 matches so far, which is of course really, really nice. There isn't really too many other options, I would say. Michael Keane is doing really nice as well. Of course, he's the cheaper alternative to Tarkowski, and he's picking up a DEFCONs in quite a few matches as well. And if you are looking for a potential Newcastle player, and you've got Malik, I don't know how you say his second name, Malik Tau, He is sitting at a 9.38 average, and he's picked up in 2 matches so far. But if he can continue to pick up DEFCONs, he would definitely be a really nice option and a really nice route into that Newcastle defence at some point. For attacking stats, I don't really think we've had too much of a change since last week. Calafiori's still sitting at the top with 19 shots. He had a ton of shots in the first few game weeks, and he's kind of trailed off a little bit, but no one's anywhere near close to the amount of shots he's taken so far. He has managed to climb up the XGI ranking ahead of Van de Ven now into 3rd place, where Daniel Munoz does lead. Still, in my opinion, looking like probably the best defender that you can get outside of Arsenal, with a 2.8 expected goal involvement and 11 shots so far. Again, we still have our 3 Arsenal defenders in amongst it for the expected goal involvements. Timber in 2nd, Calafiori in 3rd, and then we've got Gabriel in 5th as well. The 2 Chelsea wingbacks are doing really nicely as well, with James and Cucurella both contributing 1.8 expected goal involvements for Chelsea. Cucurella also making the top 10 lists for shots taken with 9. Other than that, I wouldn't really say there's too many big considerations. A lot of differential picks in there, likes of Matty Cash, Nico O'Reilly as well, all taking a fair amount of shots, but I wouldn't say they were too popular for FPL in general. For our defensive fixtures over the next 6 weeks, these are the teams which have the best. And we've got Bournemouth at the top, and again, it's basically a really obvious pick to go for the man in the picture on the right-hand side, being Marcos Senesi, essentially picking up DEFCONs almost every game. He is the leading DEFCON scorer so far this season, and with Bournemouth having West Ham at home, Everton at home, Burnley at home, all in the next 3 matches, I would be expecting a good few Bournemouth clean sheets where he would hopefully pick up DEFCONs as well. Even against Sunderland away, Chelsea and Man United, again DEFCONs are a very big possibility for someone like him, and I definitely see him in amongst the top scoring defenders over the next 6 game weeks. We've also got Fulham in there as well, with nice fixtures, but at the end of the day, I think if you look deeper into it, they're not actually as great as they are on paper. Sunderland at home, obviously Sunderland are doing really well, and again, you do have to consider Fulham's form at the minute, which isn't too great. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sunderland win that match in game week 12, and then after that you're going into 3 pretty difficult fixtures against Spurs, Man City and Crystal Palace, before a decent run in game week 16 with Burnley and Nottingham Forest. So if you are maybe considering someone like Anderson, I think maybe it's best to wait till game week 16, or if you're happy to bench him in 13, 14 and even potentially 15, you could potentially do that, but I think game week 16 is going to be your best shot. Newcastle as well in there, obviously not this week playing against Man City, but after that a really nice run. Obviously we were speaking about Malik Thiaw, who obviously looks pretty decent for DEFCONs over the last few games. He could be a potential shout. I think he's still under 5% owned as well if you are looking for a cheeky differential, and the fixtures are looking pretty good after this week for Newcastle. As I mentioned, Liverpool's fixtures are looking fantastic now, into a beautiful run for about 8 to 10 game weeks, I believe. They don't have a red fixture, and over the next 3 weeks they've got 3 green fixtures in there as well. So Virgil van Dijk is going to be your main defensive option, probably your only defensive option if I'm being honest, having nice DEFCON stats so far, and you will have a very decent chance of a clean sheet as well for Liverpool over the next few weeks. Man City are in there. I wouldn't really consider too many Man City assets. If you want to go for like a Nico O'Reilly and be prepared for a potential benching in the future, then go ahead, but they do have nice fixtures with Leeds, Sunderland, West Ham all at home in the next 6 weeks. Again, another team similar to Newcastle, with them playing each other, you probably wouldn't want to look at until game week 13. We've got Brighton in there as well. I wouldn't really consider anyone from Brighton, and then you've also got Crystal Palace, who of course have Daniel Munoz if you want to go for the attacking player, or you can go for Chris Richard or Max Lacroix, who of course are doing a little bit better for DEFCONs. Despite it being a semi-difficult fixture and derby for Arsenal against Spurs, they are still topping the clean sheet percentages with a 46% chance of a clean sheet. Not too far behind though is Chelsea, Liverpool and Fulham with a 44%, 42% and 41% chance of a clean sheet. And I think overall, we're actually looking like fairly high clean sheet odds on average this week. We've got 8 teams with above 30%, which is pretty high, and those 8 teams are pretty well owned as well. Again, Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool, everyone has defenders from them. Fulham, Anderson's still a very popular pick, and then you've got Bournemouth and Palace as well. The likes of Senesi and Truffert, Petrovic as well for Bournemouth, and then you've of course got Gahey, Munoz, Lacroix, Richards from Crystal Palace. So it's looking like a week that's going to be nice for the 5 at the back teams, and definitely a week to play your defenders. Again, I think the only time I wouldn't play your defenders is if you are looking at a Spurs defender in your team. Someone like a Mickey van de Ven is going to be someone that you either sell or bench this week. But I don't think really anyone in the bottom 5, is going to be too highly owned in general, unless you obviously own any Spurs players. Moving into the midfield then, we're looking at some DEFCONs, and Elliot Anderson extended his lead at the top with the total DEFCONs now, and he has picked it up in 6 matches, which is okay. You're looking at a 50%-ish record, 1 every 2 games, which is the best so far of any midfielder, alongside Granit Xhaka, who is absolutely smashing it as well, and he's also averaging over 12 per match. Someone that's kind of popped out of nowhere is Mats Vifer for Brighton with a 13.66 DEFCONs per 90. He has only played 9 of the 11 matches so far. I think he might have picked up a slight injury earlier in the season, but he's doing really nice for the per 90 stats, alongside Florentino for Burnley, who's doing really nice as well. And of course you're looking at a ton of cheap options on these lists, which of course all provide pretty decent value. Szoboszlai still doing really nicely. Of course Liverpool come into this really nice of fixtures. Szoboszlai is averaging the 12 per game as well, and is looking like a pretty decent option. The only problem with him being the fact that he doesn't really have that many attacking returns. Attacking wise, his stats aren't too great, and I think for 6.5 million I think they is, you're just better going for like a Granit Xhaka, who has better DEFCON stats, and arguably you could say a better attacking threat as well. So that's just my opinion on it. I would rather go for a different Liverpool attacker. But another one, of course, that is a little bit more expensive is Bruno Fernandes, who's now sitting in 8th. And I think he's just above the 10 threshold for the per 90 stats. So he's not getting them every single game. As you can see, he's only picked it up in 3 matches so far. 3 out of 11 isn't really too great. I think for someone like Bruno, you are pretty much relying on attacking returns rather than the DEFCONs, because he's not picking it up too much this season. And again, you've obviously got Brian Mbeumo, who is currently outscoring him at the minute. Now, we have experienced a bit of a shock for this week's attacking stats. Mohamed Salah has made his way up basically out of nowhere into the top of the shots list. I think he has slowly been creeping up to like 5th or 6th, and he's made his way up to number 1 now with 27 shots alongside his teammate Cody Gakpo as well. And again, we're looking at that Liverpool fixture run, and it's looking tastier and tastier, especially when you look at the expected goal involvements, with Gakpo in at 5.4 and Salah in at 5.2. They're both looking like absolutely brilliant options at the minute. Definitely not time to forget about the Manchester United guys either, who have a decent fixture run. Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes and Cunha all topping the charts within the top 10 of the shots list as well, with of course Bruno leading the way for XGI and Mbeumo closely behind. But we've got a lot of really decent midfielder options, again a lot of good cheap options in there as well. You've obviously got Enzo, Mbeumo, Semenyo and Dye, Sarr, Neto as well made his way in there, all looking like very, very nice cheap picks in midfield. Bournemouth also, as well as the top defensive fixtures, have the top attacking fixtures, so Semenyo is looking like a really nice pick. Brighton are in there as well, so Minty, a nice budget option as well, at only 6 million I think he is. Fulham, I wouldn't really be considering too many players, but then you've got 4 teams which have some really nice attackers: Newcastle, Liverpool, Man United, Man City. You can see Man United's run in there as well, with 2 home fixtures in the next 3 and a fixture against Wolves in game week 15. Mbeumo has a really nice chance to continue on his fantastic form, alongside Bruno Fernandes, who, if you own him, is looking like a really nice hold for the next while as well. Man City, again, they're not really showcasing too many good players in fantasy football terms outside of Erling Haaland, so I think you can really put that money elsewhere, into maybe a Liverpool midfielder, or even someone like Anthony Gordon, who isn't doing too great in the Premier League this season. Obviously, currently experiencing a bit of an injury, so he could be one for a week or 2 down the road when he is back in form. Going to be a big differential at that point. But I think your main targets are going to be, of course, Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth, any Liverpool player that you can get, and Manchester United, definitely a big target as well. And then for forwards, again, we've not really seen too much change, similar to the midfielders. We've still got Haaland and Mateta at the top. Bowen makes his way in there with the top shots, and outside of those 2. Not really anywhere near the expected goal involvements, though. Not really providing much with the shots that he has taken. Despite topping the shots chart, it just seems nowhere near for the expected goal involvements. Someone who is doing really well though is Igor Thiago with Brentford. He's now at 5.9 expected goal involvement in 3rd, which does put him 3rd for the entire league as well. No midfielder or defender is surpassing him at the minute, so it is only Mateta and Haaland that are beating him out of every single player in the league, and he does have 25 shots so far as well. And I would expect potentially to overtake Jared Bowen in the next few weeks, with Burnley, I think, in game week 13 as well, where he obviously is a standout if you are looking to bring him in, and a really nice cheap option, with a lot of people kind of moving away from forwards. Obviously defenders seem to be the top point scorers this season. We've had 11 game weeks now, and not really too many times have we seen a striker being the top goal scorer. It does really seem to be dominated by the defenders and the occasional midfielder. João Pedro has slowly climbed his way up the list as well. He's now into 7th for shots and 6th for expected goal involvements, despite again not having penalties, which is a big factor. And Danny Welbeck continues to smash it as well, with, of course, as we just saw, nice Brighton fixtures over the next few weeks. I'm really feeling the Liverpool players for this week, who are topping the goal projections as well, with Nottingham Forest at home. Salah is looking like a fantastic option for this week. We saw him at the top of the shots chart, and obviously with this nice Liverpool run, I think he's going to be due a haul in the next few weeks, and I think this week could easily be the week that does happen. So if you are maybe looking at a free hit, this could be a really nice week to do so, and bring in Salah, bring in Cody Gakpo as well, and also stick in Virgil van Dijk and go for that triple Liverpool, which I don't think a lot of people are going to have at this point, and I think now is going to be the time to get them in. Arsenal still expected to do well, even though they are playing against Spurs. Spurs down in 20th for goal projections, obviously up against the best defence in the league being Arsenal. So really any Spurs players that you've got, I would be looking to stick them on the bench. Even if you do still own Jared Bowen, again not really doing too much with his shots. They're pretty low on the goal projections this week as well, sitting at 1.05, so again a potential benching. Similar with alongside Ndiaye, 1.05 as well for Everton, and at 15th potential looking at benching for him. But we've got a lot of teams, a lot of top teams with towards the top of this goal projection list, with Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace. A lot of really nice FPL assets that could potentially do well this week. And we're finishing it off with captaincy. I've got my live captaincy poll over on Twitter. I have done it a little bit earlier for this week. I'm recording this on Thursday night because I'm going to be away this week. So we are going a little bit early on this video. But we've got 171 total votes so far, and only 50% are going towards Erling Haaland. So there is looking like A bit of a differential week for captaincy. 21% of people also taking the other option. I didn't put Salah in this captaincy poll, but I think in hindsight, probably I could have put him in. Only 9% of votes for Semenyo as well. His poor form has clearly reduced his appeal a little bit, despite playing at home to West Ham this week. Still got a 36% chance of a goal though, but if you don't want to go by the stats and stuff like that, Erling Haaland is going to be probably your man this week with a 52% chance of scoring. However, they are playing against Newcastle away from home, who are the third best defence in the league, so I definitely think there is an opportunity to go for a bit of a differential. And of course, as we just mentioned, the defenders are doing quite well, so you could look at a defensive captaincy option this week. Maybe not Gabriel, who's playing against Spurs, but someone like Daniel Munoz against Wolves could be really nice, or even like a Van Dijk against Nottingham Forest at home is looking like a really good pick for this week. But that's going to be it for this week's Stat Show. If you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. We do this every single week, so make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. We'll have my team selection video out as well at some point this week, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.